So I thought I'd do a video of how I water my plants. This is just another Aldi buy here. It's just a telescopic wand that has different, it's got a movable ratchet head, and then in here, it's got different settings. So you've got a mist, direct mist, and then you got a shower type, and this one actually works really good. So, you can see there, works pretty good. It's pretty cheap and crappy. I've gone through probably 4 or 5 of these over the years, so it's not the best quality, but it works. Now, when I water my plants, I like to have the water very gentle against these sunflowers, because as you can already see, if you've got it full blast, what happens is you just smash those stems, and it's not really good for the plant. You don't want to really batter them around too much. A little bit of a push and a shove there will help them, become stronger over the days, but especially when they're as young as this, you just want to be really careful, and you just want to make sure that you don't have too much water sitting on the top of the soil. So for example, that'll do, and then you could, see that's a perfect example of what happens when the water's too hard against the stems. They just bend over and they stay down, and then they pop back up again an hour and a half, 2 hours later. But you just want to be really gentle with the watering of these. So you just want to be really, really gentle. Let the water just float on top. Doesn't have to be too hard. And another tip, probably the best tip I can give you now, is when it's in direct sunlight, don't water the leaves, because unfortunately what will happen is you'll burn the leaves, and you'll start to see that all your leaves go brown, and that's not good for them. They don't work good with so best time to water these, especially when they're this young and you can't just water the base, is just to water them during the morning and in the afternoon, where there's not direct sunlight on the plants. Because as I said, you can see here that this guy now is bent over, and that's just from a cause of watering it too heavy. Now unless you actually snap the stem, it should be alright. Well, it will be alright, because they'll come back, they'll push themselves back up again in an hour and a half, 2 hours time. And then, these, I don't know, you can't really, the soil's working alright that time, but before the soil wasn't really, when I first placed the soil in, it wasn't really, it wasn't draining that well, and it was, just sitting on the top. Like you can see now, the water, for example here, just sits on the top, and it takes, a couple of minutes for it to properly drain down. Now it's alright, but it's not the best, and it's not the ideal potting soil. This is just really, really fine sandy soil from the garden. It's not the best quality. Now I've watered this this greenhouse about an hour and a half ago. So these guys here don't need to be watered, but you can give these tomato guys here a water. And what I meant about just before saying, don't water, or you can water these, during the sun and all that, when they're not in direct sunlight, or you can water these any time of the day, because you can get right down to the base of the stem, instead of spraying against all the leaves. Because as I said before, these will actually burn the leaves, and you don't want them to be burnt. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do for my watering. Anyway, thank you, bye. This is another plant here that I have had to be very careful with. You can actually see here that you've got some of the root stock just sitting up the top. This plant actually needs to be put into a bigger pot. You can really see that it's been sitting in here for a couple of months, and the growth really has not, it's really not grown anymore. and that's due to the fact that the pots are just too small now for the roots and for the plants to be able to comfortably and easily grow in. So when it gets to this stage, you know you've really got to move these pots into bigger, you've got to move these plants into bigger pots. So, it's just a tip that if you have got, your plants here that, you've been watering and you've been doing it all well, but have just not really had much more progress and, much more height and stuff like that in the last, 2 or 3 weeks. And you can actually tell just by feeling around by the base of this. It actually has a second pot around it for some weird reason, I don't really know. But if I can get this out with one hand, yeah, you can't really see, but is that, yeah, there you go. That's the perfect example. Once you start seeing these roots pushing through the bottom of the pot, that's when you know that these need to be transferred into a bigger pot. Because once, oh, there's a slug there, yuck. Yucky. Once those roots start to come down the bottom, that's when you know you need to put them into bigger pots. Because the roots have now maximized. What I was saying before was, you can actually feel around the base of this, and you'll feel that it's really, 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 it's like punching a brick wall. It's really, really solid. So in the next couple of days, I'm gonna have to move that into a bigger pot, and then here, this guy here, I don't know what's going on here. This guy looks like he's decided to grow his roots on the top of the soil for some weird reason. That's probably another example of that. The roots, that this pot here is just too small for it. So, yeah, once you see these growing like this, you know that you need to put them into bigger pots. And well, there's a fine example of it. You can see all the roots on the ball of the plant right there. Ugh. Oh man, what is that? Is that the actual, I don't know if that's the actual plant or, no, I think that's the actual plant, but that almost looks like it's a beehive or like an ant's nest or something. That's scary. Ugh. I might just put that back in there and leave that there. But yeah, oh, you can see the guy on the same there as well. That weird, I don't know, I've never seen that before. That's really interesting. I might have to look around and see what that actually is. But yeah, that's those two plants there. Anyway, thanks guys. Ciao. Bye.